You guys can go, okay? I can just match.
Yeah, no flash fire, okay?
Yeah,
Go.
and Ali.
He's dead, no?
He's dead, he's dead. Nej.
Good job, Jayce.
Der var deep, ja.
Lang vej der.
Ja.
Og no flash Rell.
Nice.
Come to me.
Oh, look. He's dead.
Nice guys.
Azir.
Okay, bot and bot.
Let's go, guys!
Fight here.
Holy we played the game, guys.
Yeah, they played the game. They did. It was like a team kill, so I feel bad cheering for either win, but really good for Matt, of course, that they get into that 1-on-1 pool. I'm here with Veri to talk about the game because we might get Pad, of course, who is now standing by to coach or is coaching Matt currently at Worlds, to join us. But there's a lot of logistics involved, and a lot of people want to talk to our players and our coaches after the game, so we hope we get him. And if we don't, we can still run through the game as we saw it.
EU experts going to run you through the EU analysis,
that,
and it feels like
good.
Third seed versus fourth seed. Expectations were that Mad would come in as the favorites, but I don't think we quite expected the level of dominance from Xayah. Right off the start, we saw him come in with a very aggressive jungle style, and it was crazy. We know that he loves the Bel'Veth, right? But historically, he hasn't always had the greatest of performances on it. But his team played around him beautifully. The way in which they used their early priority, the way they worked with each other to guarantee this early invade, meant that Xayah was kind of left wanting in the early game. He had very few options to be able to turn things around. And while he did what he could to try and get back into it, ultimately he just wasted more time. And look at this relentless pressure that came out from Xayah, and look at the minimap as well. The movement from the laners every single time. Hylissang right there to support his jungler. Just fantastic performance overall to really set up Xayah to be the carry.
Yeah, it's such a big difference when you see that, you know, when Xayah is in his element, able to exert that early pressure, when he is on the same page with Hylissang, and we've said it a lot, and if you don't watch the LEC, you may have not heard it time and time again, so I'll say it again, but obviously jungle support synergy is one of the most important things in League of Legends competitively overall, but this team, it's so streaky in terms of when that shows up and when it doesn't, and I think that's what kind of leaves us wanting, I think, in terms of this Mad roster generally this year, but here you do get a look at when it is working, how it exactly plays out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team that often they have a very clear identity. The question is, does the meta allow them to play into that identity? And this is a great example of them doing just that. Xayah can be a massive carry jungler. They built a composition to enable that, and they executed upon it perfectly. The hope now is that they can do that against the other teams internationally, because they have been struggling. This is their first win, well, since 2021.
That sounds right.
Maybe even last year. Maybe they got one win in play-ins. I can't quite remember, but it's been a while since they won a game internationally, and it's unfortunately against another European team. So the pressure will be on Mad Lions, and it definitely got chaotic in the mid-game. There were moments where I was sitting there questioning what exactly was Mad doing. There were moments where Hylissang was doing some Hylissang things, but we did see some great playmaking from them. And if we jump into the next fight, you'll see here Mad Lions collapsing on them in the mid lane. And this is where we actually saw a great play from Nuke, where he gets a really good ultimate off, but the rest of Mad Lions are still able to make it work in the way in which they respond. And in particular, Kazi with his solo performance on the bot side of the map, it just worked out really in favor of Mad overall, even though BDS do a great job of finding a way back into the game.
Yeah, I think we have eyes on Pat. He's going to join us right now. Hello, hello, hi. You can grab that headset. Perfect. Perfect. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Was it a sprint? I'm sorry. I know it's far, actually.
Yeah, I already went into the other hole.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's fine.
It's quite a ways. Hey, we were just looking at some of specifically the early game. You can do it up just a little bit. Out of Xayah specifically, we were saying how, you know we can do this. It's just that we haven't seen it that often. So how do you feel overall with how Xayah has been doing this Worlds?
So I think our bootcamp leading up to Worlds was super good. We were scrimming different Asian teams, and we were performing really well doing the bootcamp. Then we arrived at the hotel, and I think there was some tension building within the team that then eventually led to a loss yesterday. Obviously, it was also not our kind of draft. But last night after the game, we had a really nice open the back kind of session.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that led to especially Hilly and Yo-Yo going in today with fire in their eyes. We saw those connect together, and we didn't see that yesterday.
If I may, I've heard this a few times. So it's good that you know how to deal with it, but that is also then the question. It's unfortunate that it then, happens during that first game, because you probably saw C9 as a beatable team, as you should. I think that was from either side the same case.
Yeah, for sure. I think C9 was beatable, is beatable if we end up meeting them again. I think that honestly, the players could have executed the draft better. I think that personally the draft that I ended up doing for them was not a draft that was like suiting us. Like, it didn't facilitate Niski in a good way. It gave Kasi a counterpick that wasn't a counterpick that made us play aggressively around him. So I think honestly it was just BG draft.
Okay. Of course, we know that there's the situation which you had actually, you knew this was happening for quite a while with Mac. You made all the arrangement beforehand. How is it working now? How much are you in communication with him as well?
So Mac and Orome are working from home and are doing a wonderful job. Like, since we get our opponent BDS so late in the day, it's borderline impossible for us to like create a proper scouting report after like a 14-hour workday anyway. So Orome and Mac, they do that like while we are sleeping, and I wake up and magically there appears a scouting report on BDS on my desk,
Yeah.
So I think we're doing a good job of utilizing them, and I think Mac has done a wonderful job of prepping me for this role. So I think I'm doing okay.
I will say, from day 1 to day 2, you do look completely different. But I do have to wonder, how much do you feel the pressure is getting to you and the organization? Because I'm sure you're no stranger to a lot of the fan sentiment. There is a lot of pressure coming down onto the Mad Lions in terms of their representation for Europe internationally. What are you guys thinking? What are you guys feeling?
So I think that the pressure got to me a little bit on the first day, because there was a bit of a shake-up in the draft compared to the things that we had prepared, and I think that got to me. But I think outside of that, it kind of feels like you go into Worlds and the expectations aren't particularly high for Mad Lions. So I think in that regard, there's not that much pressure for me to come here as a first-time head coach in that. I just have everything to prove and kind of nothing to lose, because the expectations are so low.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way to look at it for sure. I want to pull up the updated Swiss bracket. Of course, we only have one other match that was played, but you'll find yourself now in the 1-1 pool. I hope you're adjusting to the Swiss system well, by the way. So for now, if the draw was right now, you would get either NRG or C9. How do you feel about that?
Great, wonderful. I want a rematch versus NA. I've lost to NA 3 times now, and it's just,
what's going on?
It's just unacceptable at this
Man's
point.
record is actually 1-6 versus North American teams.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a circle jerk happening in EU in general, where we put NA down a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think they're horrible. Obviously, in that case, we are more horrible.
Yes.
I think the C9 especially have really clear fundamentals, and a lot of the traps that we end up pulling off versus EU team, they are much more disciplined. So I think you saw that yesterday in us playing a bit of a draft that wasn't super comfort, but also just C9 respecting when they had to do it and not falling for some quick plays or hiding in bushes. I think they're a solid team.
So we don't always get this perspective, but we do have one team fight that we wanted to bring up, and we were hoping that, especially from your perspective, because you also get to hear all the player comms, what are you thinking as a coach, and what are you thinking? This is the final fight from your guys' side. How did it run through from your side?
So on this side, honestly, this has been some of the struggles that we've had in the past, playing games like this, is just realizing when we have a numbers advantage on some part of the team fight or the map. And I think here the comms were so clear. If you, Hilly and Yo-Yo here are exactly on the same page, and when those two are on the same page using their abilities on the same screen, there's nothing enemy can do. It doesn't matter if it's BLG, C9, JDG, it doesn't matter.
I hope we see that then.
I
Also, if it plays
that.
out,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
like that confidence.
Absolutely. Hey, now that we have you, we are going to go into our next game. It's Fnatic up versus GAM. Fnatic had a bit of a false start as well versus LNG. Also a small intro, actually. We have a throwback, right, Verius, for
Yeah, we
GAM
do.
versus Fnatic?
Because fun fact, for those fans that may be fresh, this isn't the first time that GAM and Fnatic have met internationally. 2017 was when GAM really made their debut on the international stage, and it was one of the fastest level 6 Nocturne ultimates we have ever seen. This gank in the bot lane, I mean, many EU fans will remember it, and it was a one-sided stomp from the side of GAM.
Pat is even laughing.
I remember this. I watched this live, and that was crazy. That brought the GAM hype to Worlds.
It did.
That was like this version of GAM back then. Like I was so hyped, and ever since I've seen it, I've been so excited. And anytime you have Levi on any team, you know, stuff can go really wrong for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the question is then the hype started, and I feel like it's died down just a little currently. So what are your thoughts about this specific matchup versus Fnatic?
I think if Mr. Matic Brasta Humanoid does not get one of his favorite control mages, we can have a game on our hands.
Okay.
If they give him Orianna, I think it might be a little bit rough.
Azir, perhaps Victor, it might be a little bit rough. Betty, what do you think?
I mean, I think that I want to see a better performance from Razork. Yesterday, it felt like he felt hamstrung to force something through the top side of the map, and when it didn't work out, Fnatic kind of fell apart. So I'm hoping that just like Mad, we see a different version of Fnatic today. They're able to come back to the drawing board, and this can be a great way for them to get back into the tournament.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate it. Good luck, of course.
Thank you so
guys,
much.
Thank you.
everyone. And
Thank
we'll
you,
head
guys.
over to our casters.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to the casting desk. The arena is filling out slowly, and we know as the day goes on, it'll only be yet a warm-up to getting towards those LCK and LPL matches rather coming up a little bit later. But first, Fnatic versus GAM. Azale, you're telling me a fun stat. You should tell us right away what's going on with the rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, LEC versus VCS is probably a lot more competitive than most people would think. It is in LEC favor, but it is 11-6, so fairly competitive. The Vietnamese teams have been able to take quite a few games off of the LEC teams over the years.
Yep.
This has been one of those regions, I think especially because of their explosive playstyle. They're not one to just kind of try to play a slow macro game where they get outclassed. They're generally going to go aggressive. They're going to try to make things happen. That is the reputation of the region, is kind of mini LPL. And I think that has allowed them to pull off quite a few upsets, 6 in total, out of the 17 games against the LEC.
And I think especially when you look at Fnatic especially, I mean, they can run over games with people like Razork. We know Humanoid is a big star carry rather as well. So this could get very explosive, very fast as we get into pick ban for our game number 4. Straight away, Poppy off the board, which seems to be respected more and more by the hour.
Absolutely. I think it is an incredibly strong pick, especially when you're looking at most of the meta picks. In top lane, in jungle, even in support, it's all champions with dashes, right? And Poppy really just shuts that down. It denies the playmaking that you're looking to make. And GAM is a team that likes to go aggressive, wants to have that playmaking, so we'll see what they are going to be able to get done here. Kiaya, definitely one of the big carries for this team, especially in the VCS. You know, he was that guy who was their best laner on the team, really was able to make things happen.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like Kati is really the kind of main carry as you're getting later into the game. Slayder and Pallet, you know, they're a new bot lane for the team since MSI did actually come in, you know, replacing the former bot lanes. There have been some changes there. Fnatic as well, if you haven't seen them since they've been international, obviously a lot of changes, a lot of new players coming in. Or even if you were just watching the LEC playoffs, it was Wonder playing top lane because Oscarinin, I believe, has broke his hand or at least had a hand injury where Wonder had to swap in. So, you know, both these teams have had kind of that shifting roster.
And remember, it was one series that we saw Oscarinin as well. The rest was Wonder. That's what makes it so crazy. The fact that Fnatic's top laner has hardly played in recency. Now on the world stage, I mean, it was a big ask yesterday against LNG. He wasn't too bad. He actually played the laning phase really well against Zika,
doing really well.
I feel like he's one of the standouts of Fnatic. So hopefully again today we get to showcase him a little bit more, as this is a classic. So far, we got the Rakan, Kaiser on the other side, but Humanoid on Azir. I feel like that just goes hand in hand.
It's like, hey, that Azir is looking pretty good when Scout played it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Gonna be grabbing it for himself here. Humanoid, really one of the big stars of this Fnatic team. This guy is such a good laner. We were talking about this live when we were doing the Diaphoria episode. You know, Vedius was really giving so much credit to Humanoid and how good his laning phase is. Really looks at him as one of those guys who can go up with the absolute best players in the world as far as that laning phase is concerned. He's had some really big performances international when he's got there. So Fnatic is going to be counting on him to make something happen because this is not a match you can afford to drop.
Yep.
GAM, let's just be honest about it, is the team that every single team that was 0-1 was hoping to drop. That is considered to be the easiest matchup that is available. Doesn't mean that you can underestimate them, but that is still that preferential matchup. So Fnatic, having gotten that, really needs to make sure that this is perfect, that they close out this game, no mistakes. You do not want to be dropping to GAM because I feel like if you lose that, your confidence is going to be shattered.
And also, I mean, you could have another regional rivalry, right? Could verse BDS.
Yeah.
Could verse, again, we talked about it between
Liquid,
D+,
KT.
Who is it going to be? That's the problem. That's why at this 0-1 stage, you don't have much leverage left. And we've been talking about it all day because it is so damn important.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of this format, is that day one, I was sweating watching the LCS games. Yep. It feels so important. Day two, you're like, oh my God, if we lose, we're screwed, you know? So it just feels like the importance of the game ramps up so fast. Similarly for GAM, you know, they really want to represent their region well. They've battled through play-ins against a really tough cast of teams. I do feel like Loud has really been getting better and better. PSG obviously was incredibly strong as well. You know, so GAM is able to come through a tough play-in team, and they want to get something done here. They want to show that they are good enough to compete against these upper teams. And I think Fnatic, again, you know, as much as it's always funny, right? Like, because we always talk about this NA versus EU matches where all the NA teams are cheering when they draw the EU teams and all the EU teams are cheering when they draw the NA teams. I feel like it's probably pretty similar here for GAM. Fnatic is one of the easier matchups that they could have hoped for in this 0-1 bracket as well.
True. I mean, drawing an LPL or an LCK team, you'd be like, well, that's a little bit harder to ask. So right on the nose there, Azal, is just quickly, I want to highlight 3 jungle bans have been taken away here in our second phase. Least in the final one from Fnatic, and against Levi, I mean, no surprise.
That's his classic.
Yeah, it really is. We've seen him in the international scene for so many years, and taking away a champion with agency here in the jungle just seems like the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely something that makes a lot of sense here. Now, we are expecting this K'Sante to go up towards top lane, but of course it can be flexed towards mid, but it's not something that I recall. I'm going to actually double check, but it's not something that I recall seeing Kati play throughout this year, and yeah, he doesn't really have any games on it. So it's almost guaranteed going to be going up towards that top lane unless it's going to be a bit of a pivot. But because he is such a big team fight carry for the team, him being on the K'Sante, I don't really think would make that much sense for their style. So you do have Sejuani, K'Sante up on the top side. Yes, Oscarinin is on this Renekton, which does have a lot of lane power. But anytime it's melee plus Sejuani, you've got to pay so much respect over. And we got to see what is going to be the jungle pick here. Is it going to be the jungle Rell for Razork, which would be signified by grabbing this Renata? There's obviously a lot of dive over on the other side, so I actually love a flex pick like this. Renata, I feel like, has been criminally underrated this whole year, and a meta that has been dominated by dive for a long time. This champion is just a nightmare to deal with. So it is going to be Nautilus. I'm expecting it to be the Rell jungle. Occasionally, we've seen over this year some Nautilus jungle, but it's definitely not very popular. We saw it pop up in a few different regions, but really, you're expecting it to be the Rell.
I don't know how Fnatic, how crazy they're feeling today, but yeah, at the very least, look, Razork on something that can set up his team. At the very least, as GAM, they finish out their draft with the Jayce going towards mid. I know you talked about the flex potential, but as we're expecting Kiaya in that top side on the K'Sante, what are your thoughts?
On the K'Sante versus Renekton, I do feel like it's a pretty skill-based matchup. I think that it's Renekton favored, but I do think that you can have opportunities to get that in. And to me, it's more swung by the jungle matchup, right? The fact that you have that Sejuani up there, that should be a winning 2v2 for GAM. You know, if they are going up against Oscarinin and Razork, they should be winning. So, you know, you have to see how well they're able to coordinate. I'm also interested with this last pick of the Jayce. Are we going to have a different style of Kai'Sa build? Like, is it going to be AP Kai'Sa splash in? Is it going to be something different? Because otherwise, you are basically full physical across the board. And I also do think when you go that lethality into Nashers and you have the upgraded W, at least you have 2 forms of poke. And to me, 2 forms of poke is so far superior to just having the one when you only have like solo Jayce or solo Ezreal or whatever. It doesn't ever feel like it's enough to kind of push it over the edge. Whereas when you have that secondary form of poke, it really can make a difference. So I'm interested to see, you know, are we going to get that kind of lethality style into Nashers? It is Hail of Blades, so I'm expecting that we will get that. There's also the outside possibility of going more the full AP. I think that build's pretty dead, so I'm not expecting it, but I do think you always have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, at least hybrid.
I just wish Pickham's also had, you know, how many hybrid builds are we going to get on one champion? Because all people had to do pick was Kai'Sa, and it would have set us up for success.
Easy dub.
Yeah, the 4th build dead, you say. 3 others still on the table. As we do have a bit of a pause to get us into this game, so we're a little bit delayed running into this one. But our 4th game of the day, I'll tell you one thing. Fnatic versus GAM might not go the way people expected. I'm sure a lot of people out there favorites of the EU 2nd seed, but GAM made it all the way through here. As Al talking before about that's ups and downs in play-ins, but of course making it through after losing to Loud to open up their play-in experience is a really big thing. There we go. Don't worry.
No Ezreal.
We're okay. We're safe.
You're safe for one game. But, you know, just looking back at all the Kai'Sa games that GAM has actually played, you know, Slayder played 3 different games of Kai'Sa and 3 different builds to actually talk about what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It is the Stormrazor Rageblade build that he was going for, then he splashed into AP with Nash's Zhonya's. Then we had just the standard kind of on-hit lethal tempo Kai'Sa with Kraken Slayer and to Navori, and then his most recent one, you know, was a really good game for him, that final game against Team Wales, where he was going lethality into AP, right? So he did go for that quick lethality, and then splashing into the Nashers as well as going to Zhonya's. That seems to be the standard build. People don't always need to go in towards that Zhonya's. Sometimes it is like a death cap angle or whatever, but obviously when you are playing hyper aggressive, it's so much value to have that Zhonya's when you're diving in.
I mean, especially when you look at this comp as well. But a side note, coming back to how you're talking about this poke, I mean, we know GAM plays so aggressive in the early game. We know that GAM, one of our faster teams for sure, not just because of the region, but because of GAM themselves. And if poke comps get ahead, if they really rush into games, it's really hard to stop the momentum. Who gave behind the scenes,
time, baby.
Behind the scenes a sign. What an absolute legend. If they win this, though, I mean, as you said, Fnatic are in a bad spot. It'd be a second EU team at 0-2 that joined BDS, who just got off that loss against MAD. It'd be 50% of your teams down in the, I was going to say lower bracket. I'm not sure what to call it. The 0-2.
The gulag.
The gulag. That's it.
Gotta fight your way out. Try to look for the respawn back into the upper bracket.
And it's so hard, as you said. I mean, you then have to start prepping BO3s. And BO3s, you have to play 3 of them as well if you want to make it up. 3 BO3s, that's a lot more prep than what I'd call our group stage, our Swiss stage.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very, very difficult to play from that type of situation. So both teams desperately wanting to get that win today, trying to avoid the 0-2. We are on pause. We are in game for Game 4 here, Day 2. Worlds 2023. It's the new Swiss stage. I have been loving it so far. It has been an absolute pleasure to captain these games with you.
Oh, man. The pleasure is all mine. You know, yesterday, starting with Vedius, I get a bit of the flavor of the EU. I had the taste with Chronicler. You had to deal with another Aussie.
Tastes like Britain.
Yeah. And then finishing off with you, sir. I mean, not only a pleasure, but the fact that we started with the LCS versus LCS, I think was just the perfect way to open up day number 2. Now, of course, going into the VCS, their #1 seed, one of the 2 teams outside of BDS to make it out. With Fnatic going up against them. Again, you already talked about that all-time record, but we know that Fnatic have high expectations. A lot of fans here in the crowd that have come out as well. We know that this team is largely about Razork, how he controls the game, and gives that agency to Humanoid, who is playing with particles. What is happening with Azir? This guy, he's got an LED light show going on at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this skin. Have you?
No.
I feel like I've never seen that skin, but to be fair, no one plays Azir in solo queue.
Okay, well, just a quick reminder, while we are looking at that fun light show, one of those disco balls you buy off Amazon, reminder that you can earn exclusive League of Legends rewards like icons and emotes by logging into your Riot account and watching on lolesports.com. It's easy. Sit there, chill out, and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick note. Still don't know what the skin is, but it's whack. It's absolutely wild. And while I was talking, I know level 2 acquired here by Fnatic's bottom lane, and GAM have to back away.
Kind of, this is completely off topic, but kind of matching the graphic behind the players.
It
if you look at the
is.
player cam, there's all those little floating red balls that look like sparks and stuff.
But Azir's not the world skin, it's Renekton. So,
yeah, someone's going to tweet us and tell us, like, I can't believe you don't know the skin. You even play League of Legends.
you don't know skids.
And it turns out I play way too much League of Legends.
The last time I played Azir was when I got to play one game on the Korean server in 2019. So,
The last time I intentionally played Azir was never.
Intentionally. It just happened.
Hey, ARAM sometimes, you know.
I've been told
I didn't set out.
Elderwood Azir.
I guess there must be a chroma. I've definitely seen Elderwood. I guess I just haven't seen these chromas. Some of the chromas look actually very different.
Yeah, they're really cool. I mean, honestly, you can't pick up from the crowd, but ultimately, Humanoid with his skin is playing well in mid lane. Some good trades against Kati already. You can see that Jayce at half HP. So our star player looking pretty good here is up in the top side. Oscarinin getting a built-up wave against him for now. Doing pretty well in CS, actually.
Absolutely.
Trades against him.
Has the HP advantage here. We'll see. Levi coming through that lane as they are going to get him tagged, but he's just going to help him push it in. I mean, he's showing, so you're not actually looking for any sort of a real gank.
Yep.
I think he wants to help him push. He wants to try to contest this top scuttle Razork has no smite, neither does Levi. So Levi, I think, is just going to make the assumption that he does have the smite. He's not actually going to look to contest, so Razork will be able to grab it.
Gives priority to Humanoid to continue pushing up in this lane as well and just cross down for double. I mean, Pallets made this roam. It could get very busy very fast, but Trymbi's done the same. Supports today, Azale, are so impactful across the map, but they still don't see him. He's holding out. He then goes for the engage, sets up for Levi. It quickly becomes a 3 versus 2. Make that 4 versus 2. Razork's a bandit, and GAM, just like we said, play the early game.
That side brush ward made all the difference. Not only did they see everyone from Fnatic walk in, they saw Humanoid leave, and it's not after that unleashed TP. He can't TP in and join the fight.
I mean, they're going again. Noah, he doesn't burn the flash. Both summoners available, but it's matched. Levi's there. One more hit. Noah gets out. Now, summonerless as Fnatic a hit bot as well.
That was really close. It did cost both Slayder and Levi his flash, though, so now they would want to be getting more, want to be zoning them off, but they're not going to be able to do it because Razork is heading bot to cover. But it's another rough start here for Razork after what was a tough one for him yesterday. GAM out to that early lead, and it is Kati, who you were saying and you were pointing out, he was losing out on those trades against Humanoid, and now he's given that first blood, which is really, really helpful. And he was also given double buffs, which is going to make your laning phase that much nicer. Do they see the animation? I don't play enough Rell to actually know if you see the animation on someone you stun in the bush. It didn't seem like they reacted at all, so I'm going to give the assumption over that they don't see the animation, that there's not an indicator. But with a lot of champions with skill shots like that, there is some sort of an indicator if you actually hit someone in the bush.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it would have been possible for him to spot. But either way, they do not recognize that he's there, even though they did stun him up. And it means Pallet finds that great engage, and GAM strikes first.
And one in the bot side, too, to get the double summoners. As you said, Slayder burnt his, Levi burns his, but now, for the time being, there's one gentleman down bot side in Noah, who is going to be a little bit isolated until he gets that level 6 point. That's coming soon, at the very least, to highlight, but so far, Pallet has been very, very busy on this Rakan.
And Kati has to be careful, because it's level 6 on the Azir. They know that Trymbi is around here, so you have to respect that Trymbi shuffle. They haven't had eyes on Razork in a long time.
Yep.
Who's actually still having some really good pace in this game, you know, pretty heavily up in farm. Pallet has been spending so much time roaming that he is level 3. It does, of course, mean that Slayder gets more solo XP, so that's going to be feeling pretty nice. But Levi also looking to spend a lot of his time ganking here, and is going to start up this early dragon because they have push on bot side. I think they suspect that Razork is up on top side, though they haven't had it confirmed. I believe I saw some pings up towards that top side. So they definitely seem to have sussed it out.
But look at where the wave is at. Kiaya won't let it crash in. Very smart play with the all-out flash available. Half a HP bar to work with. Razork can't do a thing. Well, GAM use their pressure bot side and just take the first dragon of the game. Early game going exactly how this team functions usually. And GAM continue to play the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game quite well.
Yep, looking good here. Only 7 minutes coming up on into the game. Obviously very even. They did get that first blood, but it is the farm advantages that have made the difference to keep the gold. Even when you're looking at top, jungle, mid, it is that laning edge that Fnatic has been able to build up. So even though they got that first blood plus the assist gold, they've made that up all the way through farming. Kiaya just trying to push this out, but he's just been getting chunked away on by Oscarinin. He's not really getting any trades back.
Yeah.
Or if he does, it's like not really equal whatsoever. Oscarinin still hasn't even been based, but Kiaya is the one that's kind of in a tough spot, even though he has the additional 700 gold worth of combat stats.
Great to see it from the player who's been out for quite a while due to the hand injury. And I think more importantly, it wasn't just against Kiaya, it was against Xayah yesterday as well. Great laning on this same Renekton in the Jax matchup. So I think Kiaya right now is suffering from the success of this top lane who's come back in form as Razork is trying to get in position to find something. Bot side,
No
Slayder, you're right, won't find it. The Magna Storm's in and Fnatic strike true. It's Noah who succeeds and now definitely well and truly on the board.
Yeah, doing a good job. Getting down to the bot lane, committing the flash, committing the ulti. Razork gets that kill. Has really been farming well here, keeping that up. The kill as well, going to Noah is massive. Levi avoiding that scuttle is going to be starting up the Herald on top side, trying to get something back, but it's that missing flash for Slayder that really does punish him. That is the cost of them committing to try to actually kill off that Fnatic player in the bot lane on that earlier gank. He committed the flash, so did Levi. They didn't get it, so that is rough. And now a bit of an oopsie there as they were juggling the aggro, and it does leash back.
I mean, the problem is the fact that it's not down.
Fnatic's
Fnatic can now get here. You're exactly right. Levi over the wall, zoned out. Oscarinin is so strong on this
That's
early
rough.
game Renekton. I mean, that is just a massive mistake from GAM.
Yeah, that is really, really rough. I think they would have been able to finish it and get out.
Yep.
And unfortunately now, they lose it on the bot side kill. Fnatic has time to base, go top side, and get that as well. So Razork is way ahead, despite actually getting first blood and giving up that kill. He's still way ahead of the pace as far as experience, as far as gold. He's up almost a full level over Levi, as well as the additional camps, and now that Herald gold to boot that they can still use. So we'll see Kiaya going towards that Iceborne. Both top laners have now based, and we can watch this one more time.
Yep.
You know, they knew that they had Tri-Ward is already pinked. He sweeps out that bot lane brush. There's no wards there. Slayder not able to react, not able to get out. It's an easy kill despite the missed hook there from Trymbi on the follow-up.
And I was sitting here being like, it was a good early game from GAM. As you highlighted before, CS leads were already making it competitive, as Oscarinin might change my mind. He's running into Fog of War, at least for the jungle gank, but 1 versus 2, Renekton ain't afraid of that as Razork here to save the day. Welcome back to my team, brother. I don't abandon my top laners, but Kiaya slices and dices, and he ain't even playing the Renekton. The blades are out as Budget Irelia now looks for a flip back. The Natofa strikes aren't out as Razork. The aggro's not drawn in. Levi tanks it, but it's still a kill for GAM.
A great kill on the top side. Levi gets in there, sneaks through those lane brushes. That's why the lane wards in top lane are so important, but it's so difficult. If you don't have help as a top laner, it's impossible to cover all the lanes of approach, right? You can't put a lane ward and a river brush and the tri-brush, all these different spots, but now
Trymbi.
Kati's here though.
But he has to get out of there, you're right. Kati changes the landscape of the fight, but Slayder repositions and takes him out. Noah's trying to turn this into an even trade, but Pallet stays safe. And that's another one for GAM.
And Slayder just going aggressive as soon as he has that Umbral Glaive. It's such a cheap item. You spike really, really early with this build. It is Humanoid pushing up mid lane, getting a plate, so there is a cost to it, but Humanoid will be pushed back. They drop the Herald, so they get a lot of plates off mid. 3 in total, I believe, taken in that exchange. I think Humanoid had already had 1 earlier. But it is going to be, you know, heavy AD, and you can see the respect for that paid by Humanoid. He brought that Seekers. And here is the play one more time. Oscarinin, you know, was looking for an aggressive play of his own. And this is where it looked like there was a little bit of confusion. I think that Levi wanted to back up, but Kiaya went in, had the nice W buffer, scoops him back, and then is able to go all out and sets it up. So Levi does re-engage. They make the play happen. Here, Trymbi trying to get aggressive. Just didn't expect the roam from Kati. I think they thought he was on a base timing, or maybe not the communication that he could have actually been moving down towards bot, because he's clearly missing from mid and had been for some time. But it's a good aggressive move there from Kati, and ends up getting his team another kill as Slayder now on the board.
You highlighted it so well. It's the Umbral Glaive, isn't it? See if Slayder can use it here in the upcoming play. Our observers' spidey senses are tingling.
Yeah, Rakan is showing mid, and so this means they know he's solo bot. Levi is moving down, and they do spot it now, but the Hex Flash coming over the wall from Trymbi is a little bit too late to capitalize on it, unfortunately. And now, Pallet's here, and Levi's here. Trymbi is kind of by himself, but I'm not sure if they want to commit to the play.
Guess not. I mean, again, Pallet could have. As top side, we look again. There's the all-out. Oscarinin has the dominance available, but we look towards mid as well. Who's going to get the solo kill? Who's going to get the fight? Instead, it's Fnatic pulling the trigger. What Kiaya solo kills Oscarinin in the top side under his turret. Everyone loves Cassante. Well, it's a trade across the map.
That is massive from Kiaya. He had the earlier Mythic. Oscarinin was still on components. He didn't have that Gorge Drinker completed until he died. So he just goes for the all-in, knows he has the better buy. Levi in the area, but they are clearly too late, so will not be able to continue stacking up those dragons, but now going to look for a fight here. Here they go!
Engage up to the back. Pallet misses so, but still gets quickness. Noah untouched on the backside, but it's Trymbi tanking up as Levi just wants that engage. He's already ultied out as the feathers stop the play from happening further, but Fnatic's bottom lane aren't out of the woods yet.
Hunting too.
They're going to try and stay under this turret. As you said, Kati wants to get down, but Razork's interrupting him as well. So in the meanwhile, Trymbi and Noah say, look the other way, we want to get out of there, but Pallet won't let them interrupt it from Trymbi. You're right, but Noah, as he flashes away, it's Slayder who rolls on in. Fnatic's bottom lane half are dead, but Humanoid's now joined in as Levi's getting tagged down, but there's not enough damage yet, and Slayder knows it, running forward with the Umbral Glaive. It's not enough. Ignore my last comment, they say, as Fnatic's mid laner still fires away, but Kati's the Jayce, and in the early game, he reigns supreme as Humanoid flashes away, but this is chaos. How are Fnatic winning it? At the end of the day, you close your eyes, you open them again, everybody's dying, and I have no clue what just happened.
It's madness in the bot lane there. Kati flashing forward to try to take out Humanoid, but Humanoid just flashes forward himself, creating that space from them. It's getting really scrappy, but here it is again on that top side. gets the Q3, knocks him back, W buffer into the all-out, uses the W, and it's just the chase down here with that Iceborne, the constant slows. If you don't dodge those Q3s, you just cannot get away. And then back towards live. I feel like this was way before. This was that way earlier play. That was before the solo kill. Yeah, this is way before everything when they got that initial kill. And then I'm not sure if we're going to go into a world. Now we're going way back ahead into the future as we're time traveling back and forth here. Slayder had the ulti, but he wasn't in range, so he actually had to flash to ulti in. Pretty heavily committing there. Humanoid comes down on the roam. I feel like they could have just fought it out from the start. I think they didn't track that Humanoid had no ulti, is what I feel like this was. Because I think that had they just straight up fought from the beginning, it would have gone a lot better for them. They kind of waffled, and then Slayder's like, well, I can't get out, so I'm going to fight. Kati here. Watch as he actually flashes forward to finish up Humanoid, and then Humanoid just goes in aggressive to actually create that space. He just slides past him. But then Kati, great job there, finds the angle onto Noah. Razork unable to block that shock blast.
Oh, let's do it again, eh? Look,
why not?
I know I'm from the LPL.
Oh, here comes Razork. They're actually getting flanked on the flank.
Not expecting the Callus. You're right. Who's really flanking who? Who's the ambulance going to be
Here's
called
Noah.
for? TP
Everyone's
from
here.
Fnatic. As Noah runs on in, he gets ultied out. Levi, beautiful, but Humanoid swoops and boots. Dagda would approve, as Fnatic have already found the opening kill onto Kati. They're now playing front to back with Trymbi rolling up, with Noah rolling in, with the shutdown rolling out. GAM are sent packing as Fnatic bring them to the charge.
Fnatic crush that fight. They have the TPs. And GAM was trying to set up for this tower dive, but they just spent way too much time doing it. It was so obvious that they were going to be going for this play that Fnatic had more than enough time to actually come over and preempt the play. Kati is separated from his team. He gets engaged on and burst down. And then even after that, Oscarinin gets to go to bot. And you're seeing the MasterCard lane economy snapshot, but it's kind of lying to at this point because Oscarinin is actually ahead now as well off of the kill plus the TP bot and taking that tower. So Fnatic in a great spot off of that play. GAM had been very competitive up to this moment, but that one is definitely one they want back.
Well, they're going to try and find this pick to at least equalize somewhat, but Levi not going to risk it, not enough information on the map. And it's funny, like, we're highlighting GAM as this early game team, but once again, Fnatic relying on Razork, Humanoid as well, coming in clutch, and on Azir, it's like the scout theory, right? He's in charge. You don't want him to be on this champion, and Fnatic are going pound for pound with this early game from GAM.
Absolutely, and here it is one more time. Kiaya had Oscarinin chunked down, but they were spotted, and they knew they were spotted because they've dropped the pink on that blue ward, right? So they knew that they had been spotted. Look at Kati, though. Look how far he goes forward. That was just a really big misstep from Kati. He's walking straight forward into a Nautilus, gets hooked up, CC down, can't move, and with him out, all GAM can do is run, and it doesn't just cost Kati his life, it costs Kiaya his life as well, and it's a shutdown over on Noah, who out of nowhere now has 4 kills and is really getting rich. He's going to be closing in on that second item, and sure, Slayder has 2, but his are a lot cheaper.
It's again Slayder's early game that's now been transitioned over to Noah. I mean, Oscarinin had a good early game too on this Renekton. Might not have the kills behind him, but he's still a threat. And I think I'm bringing this into the conversation because the support staff of Fnatic, we did look at the poke coming through, but remember, there's a Bruiser, there's a couple of tanks, mainly Razork, of course, on this Rell. And the fact that Fnatic have a bit of a lead, maybe the front line starts becoming a nuisance here for GAM.
Absolutely.
Who have gone lethality.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to see efficient item purchases. You know, you're going to see tabbies getting bought up. Trymbi has tabbies. I already talked with the early seekers from Humanoid. They're going to be, you know, not just like fully stacking armor, but they're going to have armor, and it's going to make the lethality that much less useful. Is Kiaya in trouble?
Jump in from Razork. Picture this. It's a magnet storm. North and south react, and opposites attract. Levi's out as the feathers fly down, but it's a follow-up from Razork. Like a razor, he shaves his way through the enemy jungle as Fnatic are opening up mid lane. And all of a sudden, this early game is swept aside. We move into the mid game, and Fnatic will not tolerate failure against Gigabyte Marines.
Fnatic are just taking over in these team fights. Their setups are better, their engages are better. They keep picking off GAM members who are not paying enough respect to the amount of CC. It's Nautilus, it's Rell, it's Renekton. Even if you are one of these tanky members, if you are fully stuck in these CC chains, you're just gonna die. And Kiaya just kind of walking up, bold as you like, but everyone's there, you can't move. He's gonna get burst down before the fight really even starts, and at the same time, Levi almost gets killed instantaneously. They have the flash to follow, and when you die with Herald on the push, you're gonna lose so much more than that. They end up losing both their mid lane towers and the fight. So out of nowhere now, Fnatic with a 5K lead. This one was really close about 3-4 minutes ago, and now GAM are getting run over.
And this is the difference between the play-in stage and the Swiss stage, right? The competition gets fiercer. You make a mistake, you're punished for it, and games get rolled over. It's like what we saw yesterday from BDS and JDG. BDS made a mistake, JDG capitalized, and of course they're different opponents, but you look at Fnatic versus GAM, you look at a major region versus a minor one, or intermediate, depending on your perspective. And the difference here right now is really showing in the mid-game at the very least.
It's not about the size, it's about the quality.
That's
of the region,
right.
You know?
That's right.
That's about how you use the region.
That's right.
We're going to see what they're able to get done from here, if they're going to be able to come back or not. But Fnatic definitely on a roll now. And you talk about not being used to these teams that are just going to kind of run you over. I mean, that's something that everyone really has to deal with.
Okay, jumping in. Okay, it's nice, but Humanoid says, no. Look at me and all my friends. Shields are up as maybe topside they can find Oscarinin, but in the 1v2, he's out as well. So the rest of Fnatic are converging in. Slayder flashes away a shattering strike that threatens and simply stares back. And Fnatic, again, getting away with a bit of murder here.
Yeah, they're looking good here. They commit the double ulti onto Humanoid. They don't even get him to flash. He just ultimate response, but Oscarinin way too far.
In. Kati's going to punish him. I feel like he might die, but it is Renekton moments as the auto, the range there. Kati flashes in and shut down. Meanwhile, the rest of Fnatic are getting split apart. Kiaya with a punishing hold onto Razork, but he's a tank. And Humanoid almost takes out squishy version of Cassante. This Humanoid is also looking for more trouble, but GAM already out of there.
Good solo kill, though, from Kati. It's the second,
true.
if not third time that Oscarinin has been solo killed this game. He got solo killed by Kiaya. Now he gets solo killed by Kati as well. So definitely punishing well. And you can see that GAM, can match up in some of these individual skirmishes and individual fights. But I think it's the greater team coordination from Fnatic that is making the difference. They play the map better. They set up the map better. They're more coordinated in the fights. And it feels like that is really what's telling. Because GAM was able to stay close throughout the laning phase here. And this is just straight disrespect, honestly, from Oscarinin.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to clear that wave. That is 3 minions. You're walking up at 30% HP. That is a really bad death from him.
I mean, again, Azale, as he dies here, Fletcher's match, and not only a bad death, but a shutdown given over. So moments like that are how GAM get back into this game, and how GAM start taking control back from Fnatic. Things still look good for FNC, but for now, the picks over the wall into Humanoid, but trying to take him down is such a mission. 3 members up there, but the TP from Oscarinin, the rest of Fnatic converging in. GAM are going to regret this play, and with Oscar's return to the stage, it's a big old g'day from the top laner of Fnatic. A triple kill over to the Croc, and FNC will not go quietly into that 0-2 night.
Fnatic crush them. GAM looked for a pick there onto Humanoid, but they couldn't chain the CC.
Okay, Slayder trying to bring it back. Humanoid flushes. His turret saves his life, and Slayder was moments away from a pick, but staying alive and on to the Baron, it's still all about FNC.
Yeah, Fnatic are going to get it all. You can watch this one more time. They committed so much on Humanoid. Pallet flashes. Levi misses the ulti, though. He needed to wait. Your support is hard engaging there. That's where I talk about coordination. It's not that he can't throw the shield shot. You just have to communicate. You have to coordinate. If he waits till Pallet finds the R knockup, like that is guaranteed. Your R flash knocking him up. And then you throw the Sejuani ult. Humanoid dies before being able to ult. And this is a very, very different fight. But when you make those slight errors, these players are going to crush you for it. Humanoid survives, he disengages, everyone piles in, Oscarinin gets in the back line, and Fnatic just shreds them.
Well, once again, with a Baron in hand, feel like we're going to start talking up an EU team. 1,300 already in the Red Bull Baron power play. And look, Dragon in 40 seconds too. That'll lead to Soul Point, and you expect Fnatic to have it with how this game's just transitioning.
And we saw the win probability powered by AWS. It was looking very heavily favored towards Fnatic, and I would agree with their assessment on that one, as they are now, a good, 6,500 ahead. They have the Dragon advantage. They have the Baron. The power play not really meaning much right now, as Kati has just been able to kind of farm up some of these towers, but now Humanoid responds and could look for a play.
Looking for it, Oscarinen's over the wall as well. Kati knows he has no way out. Humanoid almost dies, but Kati's burning down on the wrong side.
Over the wall, maybe?
It's all about the range, isn't it, as Oscarinin looks to take a solo kill of his own. This guy has been out for far too long, and he wants people to remember his name. Kati's in the wrong direction. Humanoid makes it out of there, and you know what? I smell meat. Crikey, it's another double.
Yeah, and they're taking the base at the same time there. Kati could have just finished his base, but elects to actually go for the kill. And now Humanoid's here, he's TPing in, and I think they can.
It's all in with the Rell, Shattering Strike on top of the Magnet Storm. The feathers are out, Noah is free, firing GAM all of a sudden. We're in a position of losing in under 25 minutes. Kiaya in the Cassante won't be unstoppable for long. And Europe raise the flags high. You've beaten the VCS, you're gonna move to 1-1. And GAM don't know what hit them. They want to play early game. Ha! You live in the early game with Fnatic as they move to 1-1. Here on day 2 of the Swiss stage at Worlds.
Nicely done by Fnatic, getting the job done here. A super important win against GAM for them. They moved to 1-1. So potentially could be running into Mad, potentially could be running into Cloud9 who lost, potentially could be running into NRG. That 1-1 bracket is starting to fill up, so we know there are a lot of teams kind of in the mix there. And honestly, even though GAM was very competitive in the early game, it looked like a pretty back and forth game. Fnatic outclassed them as far as how they play the map, as far as how they set up the team fights, as far as how they executed and coordinated on those team fights. I think it's, again, a game that is a bit of a confidence booster. Yes, it is one of the easier opponents, but it's still really important to kind of get your feet under you, get a win here on the stage at Worlds, and use that as a building point to try to propel you forward to hopefully greater success.
And I think after yesterday especially as well, right, against LNG, we saw that the early game wasn't really there. We saw that Razork got sent behind. Today was really important because matching an opponent that can be so deadly in the early game, that can run over teams like GAM, was really important. I think a vote of confidence for Fnatic and for the fans really as well.
Absolutely, and GAM on the other side now, unfortunately, are 0-2. So they are going to be in the elimination BO3s down there with, we know TL is going to be down there, BDS is going to be down there. Those are the others down there at this point. So we are waiting for one more to kind of fill out that little side of the bracket. But it is going to be really scary now. You know, you definitely don't want to be the first team out. You don't want to be picking up no wins here at Worlds. And going 0-2 means you're immediately into the elimination BO3, which is such a tough spot to be in when you work all year long to get here.
We'll have to see how GAM fight their way out, but ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us for today. If I get my words together, I'll throw it over to the analyst desk to break down that game.
Yeah, you cast a phenomenal game, so we understand. Don't worry about it. I heard Azil talking about kind of the pool, and right now, if you take a snapshot of 1-1, it looks great. You know, we've got NRG, C9, Fnatic, and Mads. But the games that are about to come are going to give us
the loser of BLG JDG? Yikes.
Loser of Genji T1.
Yikes.
Exactly, but we'll see indeed. So, Fnatic walks away with the victory here. I think we should say that they were favored going into it, but it wouldn't be the first time that we see a team that's supposed to win stumble, especially against the
Backstage,
VCS.
when we're watching these games, you were so nervous, just waiting for it to happen again. Flashbacks. Yeah. Yes, you.
It was,
Listen.
yeah, a bit of a chaotic game to start things off for sure. I was a little bit worried myself, but Fnatic, they very quickly found their confidence. They came in with a draft that definitely looked a lot more like Fnatic, and I remember seeing Humanoid Azir, and I was like, oh good, Humanoid Azir. I'm happier than I was yesterday, that's for sure.
Like a nice supportive blanket, you know you've got something. And then he also got
Emperor.
He got a lot of gold early on in these skirmishes too, because while the whole game was really scrappy early on, and it looked just kind of chaotic and bloody, he was a consistent winner early on. Him plus Noah, you know, when you're getting the money on the carries then.
Exactly. Also our Oppo player of the game, Humanoid, and in the videos that we're going to get with the video, did you just say videos twice?
You want some videos on your videos?
Yeah, I do. I love that. Just double it up. But I was going to say, we're going to see all those instances in which he was able to rack up that gold.
I mean, great performance, as we mentioned earlier, from Humanoid. Day one did not go the way that Fnatic wanted. Scout really did have Humanoid's number, and as the casters were saying, this is a great opportunity for them to regain that confidence. And Humanoid, he was kind of living with very low health bars pretty consistently throughout this fight, and throughout this game. GAM really struggled to find that kill onto him, but Humanoid continued to step up throughout this game.
Yeah, the flash was good, and then re-entry there with the Azir dashing back in. This one was a little bit of a donation from GAM as they stepped a bit too far, and this is where Fnatic really started to lock it down. Beginning was a lot of chaos, a lot of kills for both sides, but once Fnatic got that one, they then kind of refocused there on objectives. And we're able to push GAM out here.
Good focus, I think. And I think the danger and often that we've seen in the past in playing teams that are willing to be scrappy is that you lose sight of the goal sometimes in these skirmishes, but they didn't let that happen.
Yeah. Oscarinin got a little loose with some of the plays there as well. A little loosey-goosey, yeah.
Confidence game then in the end. I mean, I don't mean this disrespectful towards GAM. I think when Fnatic felt that they were in the driving seat, that is when these things happen. But again, you can't let them happen too crazily.
Well, I mean, the other thing is like a lot of, I mean, as an EU analyst and a lot of EU fans, we're very critical of our teams right now. We're looking at them and like there are a lot of things to pick apart from that Fnatic game and definitely things that we want to clean up. But the positives to take away are we needed a confidence win. We needed to come into today with more victories than losses, which so far 2-1. I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely had the draw on lockdown pretty good.
But now that as we move into the 1-1 group, you already talked about it, Shox. That current group looks great from both EU and NA's perspective. It's going to get a lot scarier in the second half of the day. But
this is a historical
let's just agree early on. We'll play each other.
It's looking good for us right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Does someone have a screen grab of this historical moment of the peace between
it's
EU
the
and
It's
NA?
the classic. The West is going to be really good. The West.
The agreement of 2023.
Got it.
We'll go down in history.
Exactly. Until tomorrow, that is, when we see the matchups. In any case, a win for Fnatic. Unfortunate for GAM, they will now go into the elimination best of threes. But we're going to take a quick break because now we're going into the winners of yesterday. Gen.G versus T1 up first.
1 versus 2, Renekton ain't afraid of that. It's Razork here to save the day. Welcome back to my team, brother. I don't abandon my top laners for Kiaya.
Kati's here, though.
But he has to get out of there, you're right. Kati changes the landscape of the fight, but Slayder repositions.
Yeah, go. Guys, play together, play together. You stop them, you stop them.
I can block it.
Yes. Guys. Oh, okay, it's fine. I'm fed up.
We can go, I give you...
We're going on Cassante, we're going... Head for Kai'Sa now. Cassante here, Cassante behind, Cassante...
Ganas.
But I have Seekers, they don't do damage, I told you.